Hello, welcome back to Community Dialogues. I'm here with a really good friend of mine, Nick Campney, and I wanted to, you likely, those of us who are in Fairfield, know Nick, but you may not know what he's up to right now, and so I'm really intrigued by what he's doing, and I wanted to get him to share it with you. Nick and I have been friends probably, I don't know, since 2009, 2010. We kind of landed in Fairfield around the same time. What brought you to Fairfield? I know what brought me. It was the SL department and, you know, trying to save the world. What brought you?
Well, saving the world,
Yes,
agree
yes.
on that one, but it was donuts.
Donuts.
Yeah, I was going from Iowa City, my home base, down to Kelowna, and they said, well, just go a little further and go check out Fairfield. And on that very day, when I was about to get tickets to Oregon to go to a straw bale workshop, Lonnie Gamble was putting up a straw bale building at the Eco Barn or the Seed Center. Mm-hmm. And we landed that day in Revelations, just about ready to leave town. And oh my goodness, straw bale workshop here in Iowa? I can't believe it. It says next to the Eco Village. Eco Village? Where's the Eco Village? You know, I just gotta go check it out. So we asked some people, where's the Eco Village? They sent us off, and the next weekend we were down for the one-day plaster workshop. And that one day took just about 6 weeks. And we made it back to Iowa City, grabbed some clothes, and we're pretty much residents since then.
Yeah, so you went from natural building into permaculture. Had you already been into the permaculture realm?
No, not so much. The building was getting prepped for its first permaculture class, and so we put up the solar panels, we got the rainwater collection finished, we did some building with...
Built the campus,
yeah, yeah. So that was 4 weeks, I think, and then 2 weeks of permaculture class. And by that point, it was hard to leave.
Right. Yeah, you were pretty much, you know, putting roots down by that time.
Yeah.
So you put roots down in Fairfield. Now you're from Iowa City?
Born and raised in Iowa City.
Yeah. How crazy that Fairfield's just been here your whole life, and it just wasn't like on the radar at all.
Not on the radar at all. No idea.
Yeah. Like, oh, wow. And then so you kind of dug in a little bit in the community, but you started homesteading not long after.
No, we were kind of anxious to go and apply this stuff and grow some trees, and we grew a huge variety of, you know, put in perennials. We took a hillside that was basically covered with goldenrod and kind of unintended grasses and put it in a pond in an off-grid homestead, passive solar design and rainwater collection, and then a whole wide variety of pawpaws and persimmons and apples and pears, and then we got some sheep eventually. Mm-hmm. So we went through ducks and chickens, and I don't know, I guess we had turkey in there too, and a pig came to visit for a little bit. Yeah. So we've done some experiments.
Yeah, so you went from homestead to farmstead in a, you know, maybe a 5-10? Yeah. How long did it take before you were like, I actually could do this as a side thing, you know?
Well, just the passion for growing was like, I kept wanting to do more, and there was a lesson to be learned in the off-grid, like, individual model, that our family really wasn't the ones who were gonna like can all day long. We weren't gonna like pick everything, but I loved the growing more food. And so we kept on getting drawn out of our house, which, you know, there was a social tie, and then that brought us to a financial tie, because every time you leave the house, you know, there's an event that's happening, whether, whatever it is. So the model wasn't really working for us. And my son pointed out to us, the farm was named Mundo Lindo Farms, which means beautiful world. And that comes from Colombia, where they name all these little parcels with banana trees and, you know, just beautiful tropical fruit growing everywhere. They have a name for all of them. Wow. And so I kind of like picked a name. And my son was about 2, and he's sitting on the countertop, and he's looking at me, and I'm telling him, well, this is Mundo Lindo Farms. And he says, no, Mundo Lindo is everywhere. I'm like, whoa, you got me. And that really was like, oh, wow, I think he's right. So what does that mean? Like, the whole thing brought us, okay, how do we participate more in community instead of being just homesteaders? Mm-hmm. How do we accept what's going on here and then contribute to it? And so as we kept growing, I still kept wanting to plant seeds and grow some food. And so now we're looking at, we got a farm just outside of town. It's 60 acres. We're going to grow produce and really kind of demonstrate what it's like a collective vision. We've all been talking about it. We've all been working on it. We're dreaming of this close food, you know, a different model of Iowa agriculture. It's, again, going to incorporate a lot of things that we had at our old place, because it's not just like a monocrop of one particular vegetable or something. You need to incorporate how you're going to get your mulch in there and your fertilization, so you need some animals. And weaving them together is going to be like, it's like a new project for me, which I'm pretty excited about.
So you're taking kind of the model that you developed on your 2-acre homestead, which expanded outside of its boundaries, and then, you know, it expanded into the neighborhood.
Yeah, we kind of were a little contagious, or we were looking for space.
Yeah. But you know, the area where your homestead is such a beautiful community. There's just this ethos that just permeates from there.
Yeah.
That resilience and community and healthy food is just very much a permeating essence there. So now you're going to bring it to this new 60-acre location.
Yeah.
In like 2025, though, you're kind of bridging that right now.
Yeah. Well, farming's like a tough thing to transition, because how do you go from your garden to a larger scale? Well, you need like all different tools, kind of. You either, well, my model was work a lot harder, and so eventually I got to capacity where I could not work harder at, you know, tilling the ground by hand, so I used mechanization. I started, my idea was I was going to hand scythe all the grass around on 2 acres. So I had a big transition. So now as we grow again, it's like, it's hard to step. But luckily, we were blessed by somebody who had 2 acres that we could use this year to grow. And so we have a new spot that's kind of a medium range, and then we'll be able to step up. Our goal is to get to like 5-acre plots of mixed vegetables, and so rotate those through with a cover crop year and an animal grazing season. Not sure if that's a full year or not yet. We'll have to see. Much of what we did at our homestead, we didn't know what we were doing. We just set the intention, and then you're like, oh, this is how it works. So
maybe that peach tree shouldn't go there.
Yeah. Or maybe the plums will freeze off almost every year.
Yeah.
So that's
and you're
good.
On a slope there, so that's a learning curve.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah. Big frost pocket.
Yeah.
So we're excited to see where it's going to go.
That's
but
great. You've got level ground.
Yeah, level ground. That's pretty amazing.
And will you do woody perennials? Are you going to do any?
Well, yes. I really like the way the sheep and the orchard work together at our old place.
Okay.
Cage the trees pretty modestly, and then they go together because you get the shade of the trees. The sheep really like it. You build out a little bit more variety. Use the same space. Fertilization is going there.
Yeah.
You know, you get a lot of benefits. So pears are probably definitely in there. Peaches maybe. We had our first northern pecans this year, and that was like, oh wow.
Wait, how old are your northern pecans?
Oh boy.
They can't be older than 2011, so like
No, so
10, 16?
Yeah, maybe 12 years old, something like that. I mean, it's been a long time. They're not that big.
I thought they weren't going to bear till they're 20. I have some that were 12 years old, and they're not even looking close yet.
Well, I wouldn't have known it. I missed it all last season.
Uh-oh.
And this spring, the pecans are still hanging on, and I go around when they're leafless. I'm like,
wait a
what's that? And I had maybe, I don't know, half a dozen of them, no, maybe a dozen of them, and then there were some on the ground. I'm like, man, they're good still after sitting on the tree all winter. This is awesome.
That's so exciting. I'm excited. I'm excited now. So maybe some nuts?
Yeah.
Some tall standard fruit trees probably? Or
Yeah, well, that's like amazing when you get to like, dwarfs are nice for what they do, but when you go to an old standard tree and you're like, this thing has so much fruit on it, I can't imagine it. We really like that feeling.
Yeah. Now, do you do much canning?
No,
Not so much.
I mean, so we do a lot of fresh eating.
Yeah.
So
great.
when it's in season, it's like,
Yeah. Yes, as we should.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got this kind of awesome primal experience where you can have what is abundant in the moment, but you also have this model where you're developing community. You're kind of bringing community into the farming experience. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so right now we're growing butternut squash and garlic on kind of a large scale. And garlic in particular, we'll take that as, that was our starting crop. It was the closest thing we could think of that would actually grow after, you know, because there's a lot of deer, a lot of rabbits, there's sun, there's drought, there's all sorts of things that can get you. But garlic did pretty well for us, so we picked that. But to plant, you know, 66,000 bulbs on an acre, that's a lot of putting in. And that's a lot of, that's a lot of mulch. And so our goal is to mechanize things that we can mechanize, prep, order, you know, do a lot of things that make it easy. But like this last fall, we probably had almost 10 people out helping us plant. And that is developing into a crop share program where they come out and they might put in like an hour or two in planting time. Maybe they'll come out and help us pick scapes. And we usually coordinate it so it's like all a group activity.
Yeah.
And so you get 10 people out, and all of a sudden, instead of like feeling like, oh God, this is gonna go on forever, there's conversation with people you haven't seen in a long time, there's stories being told. And at the end of, when harvest comes, they can help harvest, and then they get, you know, a share of the crop would be something like a year's supply of garlic or, you know, an equivalent in butternut squash. So it kind of gets people in. It's like a hybrid between a CSA and a community garden, and we kind of get to work together.
So instead of like buying into a herd share, you offer your labor for crop share.
Yeah.
And you get community at the same time.
And you get community, which is really the thing that like makes it super worthwhile.
And that feeling of abundance and resilience, you know, when you're like, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can support somebody doing this. I don't have to do this by myself. I don't have to have all the land to do it. And I get these staple crops that are going to sustain me through the winter.
And there's one more big key. You know where your food's growing. You know what's happening to it. So, you know, you just feel good. And you feel connected to the whole thing. And all of a sudden, you know, I grew up in Iowa. Both my grandparents were farmers. Then my parents' generation all got kicked off the farm. And I feel like everyone used to know a farmer in Iowa. Like you used to, your aunt, uncle, or maybe 3 or 4 of your relatives were farmers. Yeah. So everybody knew a farmer. And now as we've like urbanized and urbanized and urbanized and brought in more people from outside, most people don't know a farmer. So this is a way to get that back into us and kind of like we all become more aware about rain cycles, about sun cycles, how we need them both, you know, how the weather kind of, we're dependent on it. Yeah. And I think that's a healthy fact also to go in there.
So healthy. And, you know, and knowing how your food was grown. That's huge. Yeah. Knowing that your farmer has a care, a concern, they're a steward, you know, and they're looking after the land, looking after the soil, concerned about nutrient cycling and soil structure, and that the plants are healthy and that they're producing nutrient-rich food for you.
Yeah, that's the goal.
So awesome. I'm excited. I'm ready to sign up. This is a demo that he's doing this season, you know, or it started last season in fall, I guess, when you're planting the garlic. But you're gonna have more space now.
We're gonna have more space, yeah.
You might, you know, in the future, have an opportunity to invite more people into that, that community type of activity. Do you do any like events or sharing around that moment? You know, is there like lemonade?
Well, like we brought everybody in because some days somebody's usually, you know, like Lynn's usually around and she's making sure that everybody's taken care of.
Oh, right.
Which is an important role. She also likes to get her hands in the dirt.
She's a wonderful gardener.
Yeah. And so I feel like just having her looking at the plants is like a good blessing because I don't know how it all works, but it turns out good. But yeah, so we'll have something that day, but then we also brought people in for burgers and, you know, just kind of cook and hang out together too. So do a little bit of both.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So in your new space, we can potentially look forward to a variety of produce that might, you know,
at least 3 crops. Like right now, even within our butternut squash, we're putting green beans in them to help act as nitrogen fixers and also kind of fill out the row space a little bit.
Bush?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Good, okay.
Yeah. So looking at it as possible seed collection for next year,
Yeah.
so that I can expand.
And so you're doing that right now with your garlic, right?
With the butternut squash that's about to go in.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you save your seed, seed garlic?
Yes.
You're expanding your.
Well, that's what we've been doing, and so this is year 4, and all we've done is put it back in the seed, put it back in the seed,
wow.
put it back in the seed. I mean, we eat a little bit, but and this was the first year where we really grew out of my range of just manually doing it, and so it's exciting that we'll have a chance to hit some new markets.
Have both.
Yeah. Have
both. So I'm really excited to know that Nick is muck boots into the food web here in Jefferson County and Fairfield specifically, but Jefferson County, the region, there's an opportunity for him to expand a little bit with his new property. And then we're going to potentially have an opportunity to learn what it feels like to be, bringing community into the farm experience. I think that is a really vital. And
it's what we've all been asking for.
Yes.
I mean, I'm very blessed because I get to be an intimate part of it.
Yeah.
But I'm also blessed just to be a participant, as anybody else is like, oh wow, we have local food here. We're taking large acreages and turning them into something organic.
Yeah.
And it's going to give us a lot of vitality here.
Right. And you'll see Nick's garlic in the market. You'll see his butternut squash in the market. 2025, fall 2025. Probably some green beans, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. So keep your eye out. I'll make sure that Nick. Would you like to share your email? Do you feel comfortable doing that? Or do you have a newsletter or anything that you send out?
We don't have a newsletter.
I'll put your email in the description below, or a way to reach out to Nick if you have any questions. But I say keep your eye out for what's going to be expanding in his realm, and we're super blessed to have Nick really plugging into Jefferson County's food web. I'm so grateful.
I'm so grateful. Yeah.
You're awesome. You and your family. Thanks, everyone.